Audience here present and viewers out there, welcome to Ahili's Talk Show. Many thanks to God. Vivid View.
Say and do it.
Ahili's Corner. Examine the contents and not the bottle. Say something, somebody.
My name is Moses Mosu. What I understand by the word examine the content and not the bottle is have a personal understanding. Do not defend or judge somebody or something from a distance or people's opinion. Go close, have a personal relationship with it, understand it before you go for or against it. Thank you.
It means that we should not view person based on the first view, but we should get to know the person properly before we make our judgment.
My name is Mark David Gosu. I believe by the topic, examine the content and not the bottle, that one is supposed to be careful to understand that what gives life is not the container, but what is in the container. So we should be careful enough to scrutinize, know what the qualities one is made of before we associate with that person. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contributions. For me, Ahili's, I would say that examine the contents and not the bottle is looking into issues critically without blame. Some people will not address issues the way they are. They start looking for crime. They will say, this is the person that did it, this person that did that, because of this one happened. But if you look at issue critically, then nip it at the bud, put a stop to it and correct and move on. Because it's just like saying, chasing the shadow, leaving the substance. It's likened to this. So we need to look at issues the way it is. It could be in the family setting, it could be in the office, it could be in government parastatal. Let's look at issues and face it, nip it at the bud. They don't allow it to escalate. For instance, we allow kidnapping to escalate in Nigeria, and now it becomes a norm in Nigeria. That's one of the things. But if you look at issue, what really caused this, and not trying to say, cut corners, looking at it, viewing from the outside, is the content you look at, the liquid, what you want to consume. Not only the bottle. The bottle, which is the container, could be beautiful, could be fine in the eye, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is what you expected to chase after, what you expected to do before any other thing. So we'll continue with this program. Indeed, there are vital areas where we should have been more concerned in our nation building and development. But no, we either pay little or no attention to such areas. The topic for today's discussion is millions out of school children and implications. The guests will introduce shortly after this break. Please don't go away. Vivid View.
Say and do it.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the topic we are considering today is millions out of school children and implications. And with me in the studio is a known face. Let's make welcome Alhaja Shekina Lawal.
Vivid View.
Say and do it.
Please, before discussion proper, follow us on social media handles as displayed on the screen. Alhaja, nice having you again.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Here,
You're welcome. Can we quickly go to the perspectives of the subject matter?
When we talk about out-of-school children, definitely this should be of concern to everybody. Reason being that in 2020, what UNESCO gave us, the data we have like 10.5 million out-of-school children. Funny enough, in 2022, UNICEF gave us a data that has increased. We have almost 20 million out-of-school children now.
That's times 2.
Yeah. And for any right-thinking government, any right-thinking person, we should all be worried, because the best investment we can have as a nation, not only as a family, but as a nation, is education. Because when our youth, when they are properly educated, it rubs off on the economy, the society, all this security situation we are talking about will be a thing of the past, because education is very key. Education is important. Unfortunately, what we have presently, it calls for concern to all well-meaning individuals, and even as government at all level, from local government to state and the national level.
Thank you so much. The importance of education can never be overemphasized. Now, obviously, there are challenges confronting our educational system.
Yes.
Mention some of them, please.
Of course, we have so many reasons why we have millions of out-of-school children. One of them being poverty. Though in some instances, I always tell people that that should not be, an excuse, because when we consider the importance of education, we will know that whatever it takes, we must give it. So when we are talking about people being poor, that's why their children are out of school. I always tell them that that should not be an excuse. Though this has to be looked at from various perspectives, because when we have schools in faraway places where children will have to trek long distance before they get to school, definitely by the time those children get to school, they will be tired. Some of them might not even have taken breakfast before leaving home. So their level of concentration in class will be a serious one. Yeah. And the issue of insecurity is another reason. Many parents are, especially in some parts of the country, they are scared of allowing their children to go to school because there is no school around them. These children will have to go long distances before they get to school. So some people give the issue of security as no. But to me, I will also say ignorance is a key one here. It's a big problem. Because even if you are poor, if you know the value of education, you know that whatever it takes, I must give it all I have. And we know that all hands have to be on deck, because it's not about parents alone now, though the first responsibility is that of the parents. But we also expect government, because we've had various policies, really. Universal basic education, the national education policy, gender equality education. We have so many global, policies that has to do with education. Unfortunately, what we are good at in this part of the country, we are good at signing those, policies without implementation. Action is the problem now. When they sign those policies, they will say Nigeria is also a signatory to this. But in the actual implementation aspect, what are we getting? That also dovetails into poor funding. In terms of educational funding in this country, we are still far off. Unfortunately, Nigeria is one of the countries that is, educationally disadvantaged. When we compare our population to some other countries, it's only Nigeria, I think India and China. But when we look at their own, they still find a way of ensuring that their youths, they are, captured. Yeah. Even if it is in terms of technical education. That's why we have all these, computer literacy, phone making, right from tender age. They've taken up these children, teaching them young. But that is not what we have here. So we are hoping that with more funding for education, like now, the global funding expected from education should be about 20-25% of the total budget of the country. But what we have presently is less than 14%. And that is a far cry from what is expected of us. We have so many children now, and when I talk about government policy, when we make a policy, we don't usually implement it. You say you don't want to see children during school hours, hawking, but you still see all these children around, hawking, and nothing is being done. So it is a whole lot of issue. It's an holistic thing that we really need to look into. I'm sure we will all agree with me that the best investment we can give anybody is education. Once our children, once they are educated, they will be able to take the right decision. They will not be lured into all these, Boko Haram, kidnapping, all manners of crimes. Because when they are educated, they will be able, with the required skills, they've had the required knowledge that will bring out their potentials, and they will be able to, at least as a person in life, do something meaningful with their life. And another key important thing is the fact that out of the over 200 million population, we have large percentage of the population who are, youth, children in that category. So, and that's why we have to really be more focused in terms of prioritizing investment in education. Is very key. Apart from the insecurity, apart from poverty, I think ignorance and commitment on part of our government at all levels, we really need to do something about that.
Thank you so much. That's why I just kept quiet. My mind was just, thinking a lot of things, because this issue is not new.
Exactly.
This now, in our budget, as, giving us less than 25%, 14 as you said now, in education is so bad. It looks as if they don't even, they don't understand what we're talking about education. But very unfortunately, they too they have some education. So they don't want others to learn, and that is too sad. I really felt cold as we were just discussing that, because it has been on and on. We have talking about this education. Give our people education. They need it. And therefore, we expect in our budget for you to even have the highest percentage in our budget. So please, our government, listen to this and let's solve this problem once and for all. Let's nip it at the bud and solve it once and for all. Let's look at the content, not the bottle. We are tired of looking at the bottle instead of the content. We are just tired of it. Okay, we'll take a break now. Vivid View.
Say and do it.
All right, welcome back. We are still discussing millions out of school children, and implications. That takes me to another one. I say briefly mention government policy on education and how does it affect the system?
Yes, ma'am. We've, like I mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of policies between 1960 to 70, the 80s to 90, like the universal basic education, the national population education. But like I pointed out, the problem has always been implementation. For instance, the universal basic education stipulates that every child at least must have primary and secondary education. That is the basic expected. But we still have a lot of these children between the ages of 6 and 11, 14, when they are expected to be in either primary school or secondary school, you see them outside the school. So that means that the policies are there. It's not as if we are short of policies. Just recently, we have another one that they call national planning in funding, safe schools. And that is just to be implemented between 2023, the year we are in now, to 2026. It's a good policy in place. But because when we look at the content, you will know that, oh, this is fantastic, because this is expected to make education to be inclusive, whether you are low, whether you are in rural area, whether you are in urban area, is meant to be an inclusive educational policy that is free, that is of quality, not just anyhow education. Despite the fact that someone cannot afford to put his or her children in private school or something, does not mean it's a right. Education is human rights issue.
For every child, it's a right.
Yes, it's a right that must be given. So it's not as if anybody is begging government to do this. They have the right to have access to free, quality, inclusive education. Even those who have one disability or the other, they are all captured. It's their right to have good quality education. But what do we have? Even you go to some school, accessibility to some schools is nothing to write home about for those who have one disability or the other. Maybe those who are blind, maybe those who are crippled. You see they run way to classrooms. They are not, the best for some people who have one disability or the other. But this should not be. Every schools we have provided, apart from providing basic securities in those schools, so that even the teachers, all the personnel in the school, they will have that, rest of mind to discharge their duties.
Yeah.
But when you have situation where people are there and they don't know what can happen the next minute, it's a serious problem, it's a serious issue. We have all these policies in place. They are there, fantastic documents, but the problem has always been implementation. And we hope that it will not be just about saying and signing, being signatories to many of these UN ratifications, UNESCO, UNICEF, all global initiatives that ensuring that every child has, access to free quality education. It's not a matter of just being signatory to it, but how are we implementing these policies? How are we putting actions into those policies put in place? That's what we expect from those politicians, our leaders generally, to ensure that it's not about talking, but it's about actually doing this thing and ensuring that every child, because at the end of the day, it's going to rub off on everybody positively when we have access to free quality education.
I begin to wonder why these are leaders don't even think that if they don't fund education, they will have more work to do.
Exactly.
Because when the children are well educated, they know what to do. They will not involve themselves in crimes. We are still putting our voice here to say that our leaders, please allow these children to be well educated. Let them have the access to that education. In any way you want to do it, so that it will ease your own leadership. Because if you don't do that, they're going to make your leadership ungovernable. And that's what we're having today now. Commotions here and there, problems here and there, herdsmen here and there. Where did they get gone? Are they not human beings? But because they don't understand the value of life and what it means to have education, that's why they're doing all this. And those of you who are leading on that have idea of this. Some of you are sending your children abroad studying. Some of your children study here as well. Please, if you can send your own, sign this bill and let out the money to support education, so that will come out from this dream that we have over the years. Please, that's what we are saying here. We know you are hearing us. Please do that. From state to state, the three tiers of government we have, from local government, from state, and even from federal. Please do all you can to invest in education, so that you will be free in your leadership. You won't have all these problems here and there, because everybody knows what he or she is expected to do at any given time. It's for your own good, actually. Because if you don't, the population is increasing more and more, and there will be more problems. So the first thing is to make sure we really invest in education. This has been discussed over and over again from this platform or other platforms. Let's now have a listening ear, our government, have a listening ear and invest in education in your own local government, in the states, and in the federal. And all of us will be happy. I know it's doable, we can achieve it. The policies are there, as she rightly said. Please let it be implemented. Let there be enforcement, so that we and our children can also have peace. Now we'll take a break now. Vivid View.
Say and do it.
Welcome back. Still discussing millions out of school children and implications. This takes me again to the next question. In spite of the budget for education, we still have out of school children. Why?
That's true, ma. We know that our problem in this country is multifaceted. Even with the budget for education, we'll still have corruption somewhere along the line. Let's take, for instance, we were talking about children going to school without breakfast, or some of them trekking long distance before getting to school. We have some governments that have introduced, meals in school. But if I tell you what our, findings have been, regarding those school feeding stuff, we will all be amazed. That is to tell you that if something has been put in place to help the downtrodden, and we have some people somewhere, cornering the money
to their pockets,
mismanaging and embezzling the money,
enriching themselves
through this. So that's why I said it's a whole lot of issues. And when we cannot tackle corruption, definitely is going to keep on affecting so many other things. It's just like budgets that we've done for roads, and years have gone, people are not, implementing the budget as it should. Money have been budgeted for roads and people are not doing the roads. People still, keep on dying, So it's a whole lot of, as we have it in that particular ministry, so also is happening in Ministry of Education. So, and apart from the budget we have currently not being enough, that's why we talked about increasing investment in education. When we increase investment in education, then we do proper monitoring as well. Yes. For whoever is put in charge, it's just an appeal now that people should have the fear of God. If you think nobody is seeing you, whatever that has been put into your care, and you are mismanaging the money, there is always karma somewhere. We might not know, and people might not be there, but God has a way, of punishing people for what. It's only that things will have gone bad. Certain things will, wouldn't have been done right. It's just that people should be ready to do the needful when they are put in position of power. So if we have increased funding, if those fundings are channeled to the right place, of course, we are going to have improvement. And if those who are supposed to implement these things, if you see children out of school, it should start from the parents. By the time you pack everybody you are seeing on the road during school hours, then people will know that it's no longer business as usual. Yes. Not that we just say things and we will not put action into it.
They will pay some fine to retrieve their children.
To get them back. The next day, you see them on the roads again. It's happening everywhere. You see government will say, we don't want people to walk in particular place within. It's just a few months there. Before you know it, people are back on the road. And you see children also among those people. So it's a whole lot of things. We really need to put more action into whatever we have promised that we are going to do, both in terms of funding that we are talking about now. If we can stop that corruption, if we can increase the funding, and for whoever has been put in place, that everybody is doing the right thing as they should, definitely we are going to have a change of situation.
That's true. We are already clamoring here that the budget is not enough. And that little one that's budgeted is being mismanaged. That's where corruption comes in now. And so where do we even start from? So we have a lot of things actually on our table. We talk about corruption, we talk about so many things that are so bad in our country. It's just too funny and sad at the same time. So let us see what we can do. The budget is not enough, yes, but if we also manage the one we have, we'll be able to reach some number of people, take them, back to school, bring them back to school instead of taking them out of school. Please, wherever position you are holding in government parastatal, please remember that all things is not just to enrich your pocket alone. Do your job properly, and people will bless you for it. And even God himself will reward you. Please, let's have fear of God. As Alhaja mentioned, let's have that fear of God, please, so that we can do what we're expected to do and let our children go back to school.